Where are we going to play? I'll bring it up on your screen. You know, I feel like Noble is the team right now being pressed a lot more for a win. They're kind of riding off of those 2 wins they got in the first 2 weeks of the season. Since then, they haven't had any success at all. Just a series of draws and losses. Well, 3 draws and everything else a loss since the first 2 matches of the season. So Noble definitely are a team right now that are, I think, up against a wall. And that wall is going to be Coastline, it seems.
So we'll head to Spain for our first match of the day. That'll be interesting. These teams have played here a number of times, but before we get into breaking down how they play on Coastline, Noble's been a very interesting team in terms of success. I mean, Obey has too. You look at their success over the season of Pro League, and neither team have really had what they've needed. Both of Noble's wins came in week 1 and week 2.
Yep.
Since then, Noble has not won a single match. They ended up at first place after the second week, and since then have slid all the way down to 8th. But then you still have Noble being one of the first teams to win a spot to the USN finals. You also have Noble making it to the quarterfinals at DreamHack Montreal. Obey, similar story. They haven't really had that great of a season. They've kind of picked it up in the second half and played a little bit better over the last couple weeks, but they stormed through the Paris Major qualifiers. They came within striking distance of taking a USN spot on Friday, and then they almost advanced to the semifinals and the Paris Majors as well. So both of these teams have had their certain ups and downs over the last couple of months. It's been very interesting to watch.
65% Obey to Noble's 23%.
That is pretty interesting that it is that lopsided. I mean, I would imagine with the way that these two teams have played that it would probably be a little bit closer, but Obey is a very popular team. It's not really a surprise to see them do well and get buoyed by the fact that they have quite a lot of supporters out there that are going to be cheering on their success. And I mean, let's be honest, it's kind of a wash. Both of these teams have been about the same over the season. So at this point, flip a coin and pick which team you think is going to be able to come out on top. We've got 10 rounds ahead of us at minimum to see what's going to happen, because it's going to be a tie, or at maximum, I suppose, because no overtime means that we will end in a draw if both these teams end up 5-5. I think a draw is a spectacular loss for both teams. One of them needs the win. Starting with the first band, rather, it'll be Noble, and unsurprising there, everybody's favorite feline, So Long Lion.
Lion so very commonly banned, as we just observed, looking over the ban rates. Glaz, equally commonly banned, and it seems they'll both keep that equal stature in this match, at least. We'll see Mirror gone next, and again, no surprise at all. I don't expect any curveballs, possibly a Valkyrie here for the final ban, Valkyrie being very popular on Coastline. There's abundance of options though. Echo, pretty much the same type of deal there, so no surprise at all. Ban phase going as expected in this match. Now, throughout this season, Obey have played Coastline 1 time. It was towards the end of the first half, and they lost it to SK 2-6. Quite definitive match there. Noble have played it twice this season, and they also have lost it. They lost it to SSG, but then they also managed to forgive me, Noble played it 3 times. They beat SK in week 2. Then they drew SSG towards the end of the first half, and then they lost to SSG on the beginning of the second half on Coastline. So I suppose they have a slightly better track record here.
Yeah, I mean, certainly have played it an awful lot more. Let's go back to the bans for a second here. The Lion ban is rote. I think it's just a pretty standard ban, but the Glaz ban from Obey is directly targeted at Crazy on Noble. Right, so I mean, it's a great ban, but more than anything, it's also taking out one of the better operators that we know that Noble has at their disposal, in the way that we've seen Crazy be able to wreak havoc with that Glaz in particular. And Glaz has a lot of strength on Coastline. I think if you were to go through and look at Coastline attackers banned, I would say that Glaz is probably up there more often than he isn't. This is a very well-suited map for him.
So, Billiards as the defense here for Noble. Interesting that they'll start on this location. Kind of a late camera there for ZZ. Might have been spotted out. Yes, indeed, it sounds as if it has. Skies will eliminate it. And that's some information outside, no longer available to Noble due to a poorly timed prep phase. Well, Obey's just observing their options. Looks like Ab's already going to be pushing his way to the south balcony. This is pretty fast. Looks like he's not trying to pressure it, just his choice of ascent to the roof. Not a whole lot going on here that is abnormal from either team. An extensive roam set up by Noble, as you can see, Crazy playing by security. A favored position for many roamers in Coastline, as it allows you to establish very tight angles that the attackers have to push into.
Something interesting here is that they're going to put Adam on the hard breacher role and have him a man playing this heavy utility-based operator while also holding on to the diffuser. This is not exactly something that's common that we see out of teams. Usually, I mean, the hard breacher is going to be the person who's going to carry that diffuser. But you're going to give it to Maman, who is a little bit sneaky, and Maman has been able to get inside of the site quite often in a number of matches for Obey, at least so I've noticed. And there are times when if Maman's guns go cold, and he can put pressure on using the gadgetry. The first contest that he's going to have is with Acid. Acid is playing behind that bar inside of Aquarium, and both asphyxiating bolts will come out, and it's not going to manage to get Acid. He's got about 25 HP. Maman just not able to land the shots that are required. With the Jaeger of Yeti playing over by the back hallway towards Penthouse and Theater. He could have gone for a shot through the window onto the Capitao, who's very vulnerable here, but this is Acid primed and ready. He was in a good spot to possibly have a meat grinder, but no, it's a good coordinated effort from Bosco and Maman to clear out Acid.
Fairly easy clear into Aquarium. The C4 from below of Crazy will miss its mark, doing some damage, but getting no kills. Sky is able to take out Yeti on his roam, and now Noble find themselves at a disadvantage. Breezy able to delay the push somewhat using his gas canisters, but I don't believe it's going to be enough utility to hold up the onslaught that Obey is setting up. Barbed wire cleared. Default plant spots exposed to positions from below, and that's going to allow Crazy to get a kill onto Maman. Bosco gets Breezy as he attempts to run out onto the balcony without checking for the Claymore. And you could see it's a constant back and forth to an extent that the pulse downstairs is doing quite a lot of work. The C4 from the Valkyrie will miss. Skies will shut him down, and it's all up to Crazy now. In a 1 versus 4, he's going to have to ace in order to win the round. Does not seem likely in the post plant, and Bosco will shut him down.
Really solid holdout there from Obey. Played it really patiently as they just continuously marched towards that site and almost rhythmically challenged every single member of Noble to take the fight. I think Noble understands the position that they're in. They're not happy that their team has continued to slide. They made the roster change to pick up ZZ, which is something I think is worth keeping an eye on over the next, X amount of rounds that this ends up going, and seeing how he fits on that role, whether he was a suitable replacement for Heavy in that position, what he can bring to the table. But honestly, for Noble, that was a very aggressive round. They peaked repeatedly. They made a bunch of very small mistakes, not checking for the Claymore, which is oftentimes pretty common on that hookah door. You lose your smoke, who has the ability to control that entry from Aquarium into the billiards table and has plant denial available in his hands. That's a big loss. The pulse of Crazy, getting a little bit too over-eager with that C4 and expending it when it could have been so important. And I mean, you saw it there as the plant was going down from a man. Crazy trying to shoot through the floor. He missed his shots. But if he hadn't used that C4 earlier, he stops a man in his tracks, and that's a potential round ender right there. So a couple things from Noble that suggest possibly these early match jitters as they realize that this is a do-or-die style of matchup for them. It's going to be really important for Obey to keep a level head and just stay cool. And I mean, through one round so far, it certainly looks like that's what they did. But, I mean, it's a pretty small sample size.
Certainly is. We'll be going to Kitchen on their second site. After being unsuccessful in billiards, they could go back if they so choose, but I wouldn't recommend it. And wisely, I think they make the decision to rotate. There was a pretty distinct round, or a definitive round, rather, for Obey. Now, this is a rather aggressive peak from Acid. curious what the thought process is there. He's basically completely isolated himself, and as he's been droned out, it's going to be very difficult for him to retreat at this point. He does have a Jaeger ADS to allow him some measure of safety from projectiles. However, that's obviously negated by Capitao and easily cleared out by any other operator who has flashes. So not a whole lot going for Acid as he plays that position. Could possibly be a very easy pick for Obey if they should choose to dedicate any significant manpower to this.
Yeah, I'd imagine that Obey's focus here is just going to be on trying to clear out this top projector right now as quickly as they can. And in terms of pure firepower, I would expect that this is going to go in favor of Obey, especially as ZZ gives his position away. Bosco saw the elbow of the Valkyrie for just a second, and there will need to be an escape hatch of some kind, but unfortunate timing for Obey as Bosco will fall off that hold and allow the Valkyrie to reposition. This is going to make it a lot more difficult for Skies, but he will have the aid of the rest of his teammate. You'll see a concussive mine go out, and a grenade from Skies will go in, and it'll take a huge chunk of ZZ's health away, as the Jaeger here also trying to get into the fray. This is a big fight between Obey. If they can walk away with the victory, Skies will actually miss that grenade, but if they can walk away with a kill or two here, this could bust things wide open for Obey. Crazy will at least take out Skies, which will trade off ZZ bidding down, but Crazy won't get much farther as Bosco will look for his second kill. He downed the Jaeger on the stairs, and he'll get finished off by Adam, so great joint effort there.
There are currently 2 roamers in the main lobby. Breezy's going to eat a lot of damage where that secondary roamer falls back. So now Acid still trying to play off-site to maintain control in this position. Well, I don't know how much it will aid his team in this situation. After Obey has managed to take the top floor control, they're keen to make that control turn into actual site presence and plant the diffuser, carry on the objective. Breezy is going to be the one trying to stop the delivery push, and with so little HP, it's going to be quite difficult. Yeti playing support, tossing out those Legion traps to slow down the push as much as possible. Meanwhile, Acid's still very far off-site. The firebolt from a man will get Breezy, and Bosco takes out Yeti, leaving Acid in the main lobby to retake into bathroom. Not an easy task. He shoots the default spot and will deny the defuse plant, but Adam is there to support his teammate, and Obey take yet another round.
Adam saving what could have been disastrous for Obey with minimal coverage on that plant until the final second. And honestly, a round that did seem quite winnable from Noble. Acid was in a power play position inside of that main lobby with the Alda. He had the soft walls of the bathroom, easy spray opportunity, whether you get the right calls or not. That could have gone really well in Noble's favor. You got to give a lot of credit to Bosco on that play in particular, being so instrumental in flushing out the top, even though it did take quite a while for Obey to get that foothold upstairs inside of Penthouse and in Theater. Bosco stayed up there, and he played the verticality that you know that a Buck or a Sledge would play up top. As Zofia, it was perfectly suitable for Bosco to just sit up there and wait, managed to claim a third kill, and then at that point, a situation from Noble that in the dying seconds they could have easily pulled out, well, it went in Obey's favor very, very fast. And yes, praise to Adam there for being able to walk in and stop the Maestro from doing what could have been a disaster on behalf of Obey.
This is curious. Noble's going to choose to go to Kitchen once more. They did not see much success at all. I mean, it did still seem like a pretty strong round for Obey in what we just watched. So, not sure if this is the decision either. To be honest, though, I don't know what they have up their sleeves. You know, maybe going to Penthouse or Double Bar would be even worse. Who knows? The setup is going to be very much the same. The information, the main lobby stance from Noble. Acid going to be playing that spot in the main lobby once more, it seems. Didn't really work out great for them last time, though it was not punished by Obey, which I find curious. A very exposed position could potentially lead to some easy kills there.
Yeah, and the main lobby got no focus or attention whatsoever from Obey. The only real attention that they had on that main lobby was Bosco possibly having control of the hatch above, but that was really it. Other than that, they just completely ignored it, and the closest we saw to any action inside of the main lobby was when Adam managed to get the final kill on Crazy after he'd been down on the main lobby stairs.
So, top floor attack once more for Obey. And once more, there are 2 roamers upstairs. It looks like a rotation hole for Crazy to try and support ZZ as he attempts to hold inside of Home Theater Projector. Definitely a powerful position, but it was not held for very long from Noble in the previous round. And Obey are just as keen as they were previously to clear it out.
That hole that's been opened up, likely an impact, I would imagine, from Yeti, as the C4 is still in hand for ZZ. Smart move from Noble here. They realize the pressure's coming, and they have almost completely fallen off. The Jaeger has rotated. The Valkyrie is still sitting on the stairs, but is now on the other side of the wall rather than playing inside of Theater. Gets spotted and tagged. That's a possible kill on land there for Bosco, but just not fast enough, as the Valkyrie, ever elusive, makes their presence known. Also, Breezy, the master of taking a lot of damage early on. I think this is the 3rd round that the smoke has just been lit up and now sits at about 25 HP or so, but in the danger zone for sure.
Sky's opening up the angles, looking for his opponents from above. He's going to put some pressure on the anchors for sure, but the biggest difference between this and the previous round is that Obey did not take out the roamers. They were allowed to retreat, which means the retake potential, as you can see they're playing still off-site, is quite strong for Noble as this round continues to move forward. A likely defused plant spot is yet again going to be delivery given the current setup. They're trying to isolate it right now with their positioning so they can use their smokes and other various utility to get the defuse plant.
And I mean, Acid, who was pretty integral last time around just by simply existing, will find himself down for when the execute does roll out. Just under 30 seconds to go in round number 3. An advantage that Obey had last time around will not be in their favor this time. Man count is equalized as Skies falls. Benji will now get downed, and that's a huge volley from Noble. 2 fall. Bosco manages to get a Claymore kill, but it's just Maman and Adam left. The Hibana will have to do as much coverage as possible. Maman gets down, a big rotate, and from behind, the newest member of Noble, ZZ, walks right in and just goes for a stroll as he jumps out of the big window and gets the final down on Hibana. I think you called that absolutely correctly. Obey's inability to find Noble and catch them as they rotated off of their holds and kill time was incredible. 50 seconds to go, everybody's still alive. 5 seconds later, Acid goes down. All right, you managed to dislodge the anchor that was playing inside of the main lobby, but that was really all they accomplished at that point. You know, Noble were in an excellent position to greet that push through that service door, that delivery door, and you could even hear, with 40 seconds left in the round, Breezy was still doing some sight work. He lost all of his shotgun ammo, the telltale sign of smoke saying out of mags. Breezy still doing renovation work on the site. That laid in allows them to have that power to control where Obey is going to come in and give Noble some extra sight lines. And then Noble just capitalized on it very well by tossing out those smoke canisters and then having the Wise rotate from above. It's a great round from Noble and a big inability of Obey to manage that clock and get the roam clear that they needed.
Props to Noble being able to read the strategy that Obey employed the first time around and altered their defensive strategy to accommodate it. And that's on Obey not having 2 strats up their sleeves while attacking the kitchen. Now, it's going to be billiards once more. And this was the first site that Noble chose to defend. They were very unsuccessful. It was an extremely dominant round. Obey managing to make it pretty sweeping. I like this setup here from Acid. Could definitely work out for him. You know, these bullet holes can give you great information without exposing yourself. The only problem is 9 times out of 10, when you're trying to utilize bullet holes, they're just random sprays through a wall, and it's just not as great as it could be. But if you think about it, line it up yourself earlier in the round, and when you go for that repeak, it could aid you quite a lot. You can see that's what Acid's going for.
I mean, I think the bigger worry here is that most of Obey have lined up with ACOGs. If they see those holes, they're probably just going to go for immediate pre-fires, whether there's somebody there visually or not. And I mean, if Acid's really not paying attention, he could get punished for that really hard.
Interesting angle play from Acid, very aggressive onto the balcony just outside of Hookah. He's not going to net any damage, but he will at least force the Obey members to be a little more cautious as they peek the doorway. but I'm expecting this to be yet again an aquarium take. As you can see, that's how Obey is setting themselves up once more. So once more, this will rely heavily on where Crazy's C4 lands, as it doesn't seem like he's being pressured right now by any drones. Though there is still a possibility for Obey to be wise of this pulse and choose to clear him out, although it does not seem that that is their strategy.
Not a lot of differences that I'm noticing in the way that Obey is attacking this site, other than the fact they've got Benji on that longer range Ruins watch to see if there's going to be a possible peek at some point from a defender, much to their displeasure, likely get taken out by Benji having that commando with the ACOG. But as for Noble, they've got some similarities. They've got Crazy downstairs. He'll get droned out. He doesn't use his C4. He's just calling out information. But as for the rest of Noble, they've stacked up bodies inside of Pink. They've got the Maestro playing very securely inside of Hookah. This is a different setup, and I don't know if Obey realizes what they need to do because they don't have that same safety to attack the billiards table the way that they want it. Bosco's repelled on this big double window. That's similar. He's got the Claymore on the Hookah doorway as well, so a runout will be shut down swiftly if it ends up happening.
It's a good position for Bosco to do some damage. Yet, or no, sorry, Breezy trying to peek him. Oh, just narrowly missing his shots. Bosco won't get that kill. Acid does get Mamando as he pushes into Aquarium. It's a good entry denial. Benji trying to rush into the site, but from behind, Yeti's going to take down his teammate of Bosco, and because of that, he was removed from his push. Breezy's going to be able to shut him down. Skies coming up the blue stairs, and Adam inside of Hookah will be shut down. It's all up to the buck of Skies. He will get ZZ, but he's got to find 3 more. Acid in a great position to deny him, but from below, Crazy's going to expose himself too much and go down. This is still winnable for the Buck, but as he goes for the peak, he's losing the time that he needs to win this, and the shots are just not gonna land. Acid gets the final kill, and Noble will take the round, evening things out.
That was 100% Obey not knowing how to make a course correction midway through the round to deal with all of the bodies that Noble had stacked up inside of Hookah and Pink rather than contesting Aquarium as aggressively as they had before. That was really it. Last time we saw Obey looked quite swift. They were able to lock down luggage. They were able to isolate Crazy and make him a non-factor downstairs by having that C4 go off early and then realizing that all you need to worry about is possibly the pulse shooting you through the floor. But outside of that, you can just focus on controlling who comes into the site through that big double door that's situated from Pink into the hallway. But Noble made the right adjustments there. Big praise to Noble for that. And Obey, once again, as you mentioned on that third round on Kitchen, we've now seen Obey attack Hookah twice and Kitchen twice. And both times, they look like they were running almost the identical strat for both rounds. And, I mean, it took two times, but it looks like Noble's wised up and made the right changes that they needed to really fluster Obey. And once again, Obey just not able to roam clear the way they need to, not able to give that information to the rest of their team and be able to, you know, just collapse on the members of Noble that weren't playing so deeply guarded inside of sight.
Yeah, Noble definitely strong on the counter strategy. That seems to be what they're, the one trait that they're making work for them in this match. Second time's the charm on each of their sites, but now they're going to have to go to their third site of their final defensive round for Coastline, and that's going to be the double bar. Now, if the trend continues, because they have not gone here once before, they will lose this, and the half will go to Obey. But that's only if the trend continues. Can Noble muscle out a win despite not knowing how their opponents are going to attack? That is the question. Now, the setup here, pretty sensible overall. I like the way they're using Acid. This worked out great for them in the previous round. When defending the billiards the first time around, what we saw from Noble was that they put Acid inside of the Aquarium bar, and that worked out really poorly. When they rotated him into Hookah, that's the adjustment that managed to give Noble so much power and get the win on their second attempt. So the way they're using him here, I think wise inside of that sandwich.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that really speaks to the fact as to why they didn't ban out the Maestro as well. Noble banned Echo instead. I think they had to take one of the anchors down on Obey's side of things. Typically, their Maestro anchor player that we're going to see is going to be Benji. I'll be curious to know how he's able to adapt without the Echo on the board here and whether he will run the Maestro instead. But one thing aiding Obey at the moment, if we can just focus into this round for a second here, as you were focusing on earlier on, and I dragged this off for just a second. It usually takes 2 rounds for Noble, or so far it's taken 2 rounds for Noble to be able to find their footing and read exactly how Obey is going to make their push happen. Obey are right now dancing with the devil. They are so close to being able to get into this blue bar. Now, there's obviously coverage from Noble that's going to be in play. You've got Crazy from above playing this kill hole. You've got the Maestro on site as well, and don't ever count Acid out. But a lot of disruption and tools available to Obey. Candela's going off, and these fire arrows that have been getting shot out of this crossbow of Maman have been so accurate. Bosco goes down to Crazy, and Yeti will jump in as well. Maman picks up his second kill, this time with his rifle, but Sky's so long. ZZ is there to shut that one down. Now Obey just needs to play a lockout sight. Benji, with that huge magazine of the LMG, will tear right through ZZ, but Acid, popping out of nowhere, takes out Benji. He's going to provoke a fight with Maman. This is Noble right now in the driver's seat. What is Maman capable of doing? No utility other than 2 stun grenades. He'll get peeked from the window. Sam needs to stay alive as the defuse is down. And ping's coming out here for Obey. Advantageous position and still very winnable for Maman as he tries to go for a bit of a distraction. Going to use the rotate holes against them, but he confronts a deployable shield, and Crazy with a monstrous kill for Noble. No luck whatsoever for the Capitao. Runs in, quite literally, half blind, and Noble will take the first set 3-2.
Well, the unfortunate location of that diffuser plant meant that there were not a lot of options there for the Capitao in the end. If it had been exposed to the south office, it possibly could have gone his way, but unfortunately it was not readily exposed thanks to the blue bar as cover. So playing it from either the window, which is a very tight angle and easily dominated by any defender, or pushing into the sunrise bar. It wasn't a great option there for him, and unfortunately he chose poorly. Now, in that scenario, I think the one difference maker that could have, again, won the round for Obey was just where they planted the diffuser. And clearly they were planting the diffuser so far forward because Noble had established all of those murder holes from above, which dictated the plant spot behind the blue bar. So, not great for Obey. They did put in a good effort, but Noble managed to have a decent setup there.
I mean, you got to feel for Benji as well. When it was just Benji and Maman left alive for Obey, Benji was quite literally prone on the diffuser. It was a vulnerable spot to be. I think he got up with the intention of maybe trying to rotate and pull off the diffuser, realizing that sitting in that position was not great. But he got caught out, and it was a really good read from Maestro there. So overall, that was really well played by Noble. You got to feel for Maman as well. I think he played it the best that he could, given the way that he was positioned, running with the holographic instead of the ACOG. He didn't really have that same luxury of sitting far back. Now, keep in mind that the way that the diffuser was planted, he could have sat in the safety of the bottom of the ruins with an ACOG to be able to get any possible picks if need be at that range. But at the same time, the Alda's got an ACOG on it. You saw that. That's exactly what was happening. So, anywho, as we look at this right now, just one good sample size here to compare this to. The only real time that these teams have played this matchup were in the Paris qualifiers for the Paris Major. It went 6-1 in favor of Obey, and we currently sit at 3-2 for Noble. How much of this is what ZZ's impact has been on the team versus what Heavy's brought to the team? Is there more fragging potential here? Is there more information that's being provided? Is this Obey struggling? It's kind of tough to say which one it is.
Well, Noble certainly seems a lot more invigorated. They have been playing a lot better in this match so far. And I don't know if it's because of their one-player rotation or if it's because of the map that we're playing on being one that they clearly do favor. But whatever the case, they have been doing very well.
Yeah. With that said, we'll figure out exactly what's going on with these two teams in the second half. Is Obey going to come out the gate strong on defense, or will Noble continue to impress as they have over the first 5 rounds? We're just going to throw to a very short break, and we'll be back in a second with the exciting conclusion of Obey versus Noble.
Stylish on the outside, savage on the inside. Legion by Lenovo.
Thank you so much for your patience. My name's Intero. This is Kickstar, and we're going to be getting the second half of Obey versus Noble underway for you on Coastline, and we'll load in just a second. And we'll see as the sides will change, and Obey's on defense now.
So the strength of Noble was that they were able to adjust their strategy quite a bit, and they won both of their two primary bomb sites the second time around. Then they managed to win on their off-site due to some great teamwork on the retake into Blue Bar and the post-plant. That was the, I think, the real kicker that they needed in order to win this match. Because they won the first half in the 3-2 scoreline, they are going to be very comfortable moving here forward. But the question is, will they be able to have the same level of adaptation when they go to attack? Because that's a whole different ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, even now, looking immediately at Obey, they've made a number of changes. It did look like Skies was going to be playing onto that Clash. They changed off of that. So he's now going to be playing on the more frag-oriented operator, which makes a ton of sense. Adam will be playing an Anchor in conjunction with Bosco. Not weird on Bosco's side of things. But you're going to have Benji and my man probably doing a fair bit of rotating, with Benji likely playing a little bit closer to site. So Obey is going to try a little bit of changes here to start things off with. As for Noble, nothing really weird with Noble's lineup. Yeti, who does play Buck quite a bit on this map, will instead go with Jackal. I would imagine that we're likely going to see Noble invest quite heavily in a smoke plant strat and then have Breezy launch down those asphyxiating bolts, with the rest of the team probably doing some work from above and having that that second floor support. But that's where Skies is going to be, situated upstairs inside a penthouse. So they will obviously, for Noble, they will have to focus on taking out those roamers as everybody's going to spawn, and now we'll get underway with the second half. Round number 6 here between these two teams.
The defensive strategy, while a slightly different setup, is pretty much the same in terms of the overall arcing strategy. And what are they trying to do? Which is rolling above the site, at least on the east side, and delaying the push somewhat. Crazy, though, is going to be clearing in through Hookah into Billiards, so it's a different clear altogether from Noble as compared to what we were seeing from Obey. And I like what they're doing here.
It's kind of swift to be able to come in and have 3 bodies now that are all present, with ZZ taking point, it would seem, moving up to the safety of those bags inside of luggage. But a smoke from Yeti will go down, and look at this. A fair bit of utility that could have been tossed towards the site will be expended just on the roam clear, with both Yeti and the IQ of ZZ trying to isolate this Jaeger playing above of Maman, but Maman's not going to take the bait. He's just sitting and holding a very tight angle onto this luggage door, waiting and daring somebody from Noble to push him.
Yeah, he will have the advantage on that angle. Of course, seeing the barrel of his opponent before his opponent even rounds the corner in all likelihood. Though if he is droned out, it'll be a very simple case of a pre-fire for ZZ. Though, only time will tell if that's going to happen. It comes down to the coordination that Noble can present. ZZ's job is likely just to hold this flank and deny anyone using luggage while his team pushes towards VIP, which is not going to work out great in the start here, as Skies will get the first kill of the round. And the adjustment has come from Noble. They are setting themselves up in Sunrise Bar and the hallway adjacent to try and plant inside of A. We haven't seen an A attack strategy here on Kitchen yet, so this is going to be quite interesting.
Breezy will get pushed off of the doorway into Kitchen from a well-timed Toxic Babe. Skies will find his second kill onto Acid, and Maman is here, primed and ready to greet the Zofia, and that's exactly what will happen. Crazy just gets fed right in as Skies from above will get a down, but not able to finish off the member of Noble. But Bosco will be there to do it instead. Maman still playing up top in that typical Jaeger spot. It's a lot of times referred to as Jaeger or inside a 90. ZZ with the cam above him. No time to stop that information from being given towards Obey. This is a lockout, a really sloppy entry from Noble after they did, as I mentioned, burned through a lot of their secondary gadgets, smokes, Xkaros, all trying to find where Obey was playing, and they couldn't do it. They killed about 2 minutes, and they accomplished next to nothing. So probably the weakest showing so far from Noble here in this matchup, and that will allow Obey to strike back and even things out.
The overall attack strategy from Noble was a little bit disjointed. They were trying to clear the top floor, and they were using Jackal. They're relying quite heavily on Jackal to do that, and it's great and all, but it did not work out for them. And then after that, they chose to rotate players upstairs to continue to try and clear out the top floor, as it was essential, given that VIP had been opened up in many places, and Skies was playing heavily from above, denying the entry into the site. Because the site entry was denied, you have to clear top floor first, and it just all went awry as soon as they started to rotate into that, because Obey read it, and they positioned themselves accordingly. Overall, a nice defensive strat from Obey. I like their setup quite a bit, and it very directly countered the attack strategy that Noble was trying to bring out.
I don't think Noble found Skies at all at any point. The only time that they found him was when he'd found them first. And I mean, that alone right there speaks volumes about Noble's ability to gather that information and in synchronization with one another, try to find where the roamers are being played. So for Noble, this round, they're going to have to do a much better job investing in the roam clear that they need and getting the appropriate drone work down so that the rest of the team aren't just blindly walking into the members of Obey. Obey's defense will go down to the double bars, so we'll see the sunrise bars and the blue bar come out. So far, we've gone through 7 rounds, and we've yet to see a Penthouse Theater defense from either of these teams, but that does typically tend to be more of the norm when we see Mira get banned and possibly even Echo, as those are 2 crucial operators to make that site more viable. For the double bars downstairs, you'd seen that Obey had put quite an investment inside of defending that kitchen, anticipating that that might be where Noble comes from.
Yeah, I could double up on that statement. Most people I've talked to have stated quite unwaveringly that if you don't have a Mira, Penthouse can just be really difficult to defend, and you'd rather go anywhere else. Well, 2-bar is definitely a viable bomb site, but it requires quite a lot more coordination than most others, and that's why you see operators like Castle being brought out, because you're going to need to support your teammates who are playing in other locations with those Castle barricades. Acid gets the very first kill onto Maman, so it's a good start for Noble. They have top floor control as well. Very powerful positions in play here.
Acid just walked right in and killed Maman, who was playing the Jaeger, very exposed in the middle of the site, and then walked right out.
You can see Skies on the flank once more. He's just trying to roam as much as possible, do all the damage he can. And it worked out great for him last time, but Noble seems a lot more aware this time around. Also, they're clearing out much more efficiently. The Jackal trying to do as much work as possible, using his gadget through the floor onto the site. Benji, as he peeks up the Cool Vibe stairs, will eat a little bit of damage and be pushed down. Crazy gonna try and clamp down on this as much as possible. His teammate had droned out for him in just a few moments ago, but it doesn't seem like he's aware of the castle's position. Adam will take down Breezy as well, so Capitao, lots of utility lost.
But then you're speaking of utility lost. Oh, Crazy doubles up. He takes out Adam and Benji. Skies does get found, and now Bosco under fire as the last member of Obey standing. Well, 2 fall, and Noble ramps up really quickly there, being able to walk away with that attacking round victory, not even needing to get into the site.
I mean, we're talking about dominant rounds in the previous one, and that's the complete opposite happening, where Obey sweeped in the first round of this second half. Noble now in the second round of the second half, managing to get an absolutely dominant victory there. A lot of that, I think, stems from the fact that they were allowed to take control of the top floor with relative ease. Obey seemingly having a extensive roam, but very horizontal, and for whatever reason, you know, for example, we saw that Maestro just backing his way into the doorway kitchen. That is so very exposed, and unfortunately, some free kills given Noble's way.
Yeah, a bit of a A bit of a questionable play there from Adam to back out of the kitchen. Benji was perfectly aware that Noble had control of Hookah upstairs. It was hinging on Skies, who was playing inside a penthouse, to possibly stop anybody from Noble going from either Aqua, Billiards, or Hookah to Cool Vibe stairs. Skies was under fire himself, so he really couldn't do all that much. But the castle that was being played of Benji knew that there was pressure on Cool Vibe stairs. Why that was not called out to Adam, who quite literally, much to probably King George's amusement, just backed out of kitchen, completely vulnerable to the pressure on Cool Vibe stairs. I'm not entirely certain why. That's the sort of thing where Benji should have been able to make that call. Whether it was heard or not, whether it was or wasn't made, that's just speculation. We can't really dive into the specifics of it.
Whatever the why, the result was a victory for Noble. And now they regain the lead once more. And they will be attacking onto a penthouse defense, finally. So it's been a long time since we've seen penthouse. In fact, we haven't seen it once on this map so far. And it will be Obey to bring us there. On their third defense, too. They've gone to 3 different bomb sites so far. The one that they have yet to go to is actually Kitchen, which is kind of surprising. I actually believe they went to Kitchen on the first round of their defensive half. My mistake.
Yeah, Hookah's the one site that they need to go to, which is okay. I mean, Hookah is a strange site for a lot of teams. Prior to map ban or prior to operator bans, Hookah didn't inhabit that role as by far and away the least played site here on Penthouse, or with Penthouse being the most well played. So, just goes to show you how much a single operator ban can have a dramatic impact.
Good establishment so far from Noble. You can see that they're all just set up around the site. You know, the problem with this type of strategy is that you often leave yourself very exposed. They're just kind of creating a little bit of a sea here, as you can see. They've got players over by Aquarium and Billiards, and they're cutting off the roam that way. They're also pushing their way in through VIP, but they don't have a whole lot to work with in terms of getting through this wall. Benji can bandit trick here, as well as deny the Excaros into the bathroom wall. So that's very powerful for him. There is, of course, also no Thermite in play, nor a Thatcher. So dealing with that bandit tricking, somewhat difficult. Noble could potentially repel on the east window, but they don't seem keen to do that.
A warning smoke rather, from Bosco is going to halt the advances of Noble into the penthouse side of things, as the rest of Noble try to move and spread their resources out just a little bit. ZZ and Skies are playing on a collision course right now, playing up by luggage. ZZ just at the doorway, waiting to peek around the corner, possibly into the MP5 of Skies as he waits, but ZZ will peek and actually manage to walk away with the kill, even though there's an evil eye that does appear like it's spotting ZZ, or at least could, if somebody from Obey were to be wise enough to hop on it. That's going to break things open for Noble, but then they'll lose ZZ as he doesn't get much closer. Adam is there to at least redeem his teammate, and Benji jumping into the fray. He'll take out Breezy as well. From below, Benji was playing so well on that wall just by the bathroom, will be punished from Crazy. So you've got one body playing from below, and Crazy can be a pretty big disruptive force here. The Zofia with the ability to shoot the lifelines up through the floor. Crazy does rotate though, so he will fall off his position. Yeti, great coverage, double kill from Yeti. Can't go for the third. Adam jumps in, Diffuser goes down, and as Adam picks up his second kill onto Acid, Crazy, who was on the late flank, gets back to site right in the nick of time, and it's match point in favor of Noble.
I gotta say, it did seem like Obey was going to be able to win that round. They seem to have it locked out. Great job bandit tricking the penthouse wall. But after bandit tricking the wall, with 30 seconds left, they start falling back, and one by one, they also start falling like flies. The smoke play was really excellent from Yeti, and then the follow-up, the cover from Yeti, was what I think the final nail in the coffin there, allowing for the diffuser to be planted as Obey lined up perfectly, and they just got eliminated. So a nice defense from Obey, or so it looked to be in the early stages of the round, even in going into the middle of the round. But towards the end, after they must have felt the victory, tasted it. they let it slip away.
Need we remind you that in the first encounter between these two teams in Week 4, Obey walked away with a 6-4 victory on Oregon. And the last time that these teams played on this map in particular, mind you, this was in July, early July, it was Obey walking away with a 6-1 victory. So Noble managing to, I guess, come back after losing those 2 matches to Obey previously.
Noble also has not won a match in 8 weeks.
Since Week 2.
Well, 9 weeks technically. The last one they won was about 9 weeks ago. So that's...
It's been a very steady fall for Noble, and it's
yeah.
If you had one of those trackers that shows where you are, keep in mind that Noble has occupied both first and last place so far this season, and are looking to climb out of it. Now, because there is that jumble at the bottom of the standings, this will give a little bit of breathing room to Noble, and if C9 loses their matchup today, then Noble has a much easier walk out of this relegation spot. But this is disastrous for Obey. They, at this moment, are locked into a maximum 1 point, and that's if they can draw. Keep in mind that this is the easiest matchup for Obey over the next 4 weeks. Not being able to put any points on the board here is a killer blow to Obey's chances to move out of their relegations.
Yeah, this will be very bad for Obey if they don't get a draw here. However, it's already bad for Obey, the fact that they're not going to be able to get a win no matter how hard they try, no matter how hard they want it. Noble, on the other hand, only need to win one of the next few rounds, and they will walk away with a victory. Of course, is exactly what they've been waiting for 9 whole weeks. Now, the overall setup so far from Noble, they have managed to get a decent chunk of control on the top floor. We've been seeing them make a little use of this position upstairs, Z or luggage, whichever you use to refer to as. Sky's playing inside of security is a powerful position, as I talked about earlier, especially considering it's a kitchen defense. You get some great crossfires with your teammates in the site from this spot, and that you are very distracting, and you can wreak a lot of havoc. Skies will get the first kill onto ZZ, doing just that. Acid looking to refrag in a great position, but mistiming his cover. He will be circled around by Skies.
So Sky's just toying with his food right now as the Hibana of Acid. Good coordination. Doesn't last much longer. Sky's falling off back to security and relies on Adam to be able to get the rest of the kill. The Blackbearded Yeti will destroy Maman. That's the number of rounds here now where Maman has been the opening casualty for Obey. Unfortunate as the Legion will die with likely 1 or 2 of those goo mines going down with him. Oh no, Yeti! How do you look away? And Skies will be gifted a kill with no damage done whatsoever. That is a heartbreaker for anybody to find themselves missing that golden opportunity. Breezy will use the logic bombs and miss all of his shots. Bosco and Adam are both there to jump in, and even though Bosco misses the kill on Breezy, he'll get his on the Crazy, and Obey desperately needed that round. Well, they were gifted it. A number of mistakes committed from Noble. Great pre-fire through the wall for Bosco there as that information was being fed to the team, and it's 5-4.
Definitely the most dominant round for Obey in this second half. I mean, their kitchen defenses on both attempts have been absolutely dominant in Obey's favor, but that one looked even more so than the first try.
I mean, you look at Obey's attack. They got 2 diffusers down. They won one of those rounds. They lost one of those rounds. Noble have not yet been able to get a diffuser down. They haven't needed it. They came very close on Penthouse as the diffuser plant was going down, and they might have gotten it in the final second, but they simply won on fragging power alone there. I think Adam might have actually stopped the diffuser plant from going down until Crazy walked right in. But, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Right now, Obey were much better in terms of getting into the site, but Noble fending them off in the retakes. Now it's Noble being able to jump on Obey when Obey tries to entry and having a bit of or trying to stall them on Noble's entry and quite literally pounce on them, as I said. So, this is the final round here. Are you feeling a draw? Are you feeling a victory? Definitely
feeling a draw right now. I mean, Noble have not been able to get a win in so very long, and honestly, that last round, they just looked a little bit off, almost as if it's a situation where they're not able to put themselves in a place mentally where they can get a win, because they were looking good as they were crawling their way back into this match. You know, they lost the early lead to Obey, then they managed to get 3 in a row. Very impressive feat. They lost the kitchen attack, but that's not too daunting considering then they managed to turn around and win their attacks onto the double bar and penthouse both. As soon as Obey went back to kitchen, sure, okay, another win. And I guess it's to be expected considering how Noble is choosing to attack that. Props to Obey for their really great defense of the kitchen. And while Obey managed to win kitchen, they did not manage to take penthouse, which is where we find ourselves now. And I just don't think Noble's going to be able to push themselves to get the round win here, considering how close it was last time.
It's so hard to say, right? I think your assessment is pretty bang on, but
it is hard to say. That's true.
It's very difficult because I think it's really going to hinge on 2 things. First and foremost, for Obey, if Skies can manage to go undetected for half of the round like he has a couple times now, then I think that you put yourself in very good position here for Noble. The other big position is going to be Yeti, who we just saw for 1 second. This big lumbering monster that's just hanging on the window. If this Blackbeard doesn't really have to worry about any engagements from Obey, this is a very winnable situation for Noble.
Crazy going to be droning out the pulse downstairs, and Yeti will eat some damage. So it's already information and life being stripped away from both teams. Crazy's going to be tasked with hunting the pulse in all likelihood, bringing out the lifeline and using it to try and disrupt Skies' play downstairs. He will get the flank of Skies and the kill. That's a huge one, but my man also gets Yeti before Crazy gets a double kill. Entry into the bottom floor for Crazy was a complete success, and that is exactly what Noble needed as they move their focus over to the site. The big question, though, is will the Zofia be able to take out those bandit batteries?
And I think that's what they're attempting at the moment. Crazy down below. He's going to get one of them. That'll open up enough of a panel, but it's not exactly the safest panel for you to get through, as there can be some coverage from the defenders there. But it does look like, there you go, we'll get the other bandit battery. So the only bandit battery remaining will be on that middle panel, which will allow Hibana to push in relatively easily. The wall will go off, and 30 seconds will signal what could be a major victory for Noble, or both teams walking away with 1 point, which I don't think would be the best result for either. As Breezy tries to enter into the site, he'll get gunned down from Adam. ZZ on Repel will have to swing in at some point, but all the while, a plant going down, but a big C4 from Benji, and that'll be ZZ needing to rush in. Crazy down, and we are headed almost for a draw here, unless ZZ can pull off something miraculous. Adam will swiftly close the door, and both teams will walk away with a point apiece.
That is absolutely soul-wrenching for Noble. They have now not been able to get a win in 10 weeks. So that, being so close, man, being so close to beating Obey and then losing 2 rounds in a row to get the draw, just not a great result for them, and not a great result for Obey either. That's actually going to leave them both pretty much down there at the bottom still, and not moving anywhere forward.